an investigation exposing the hidden costs of these massive data centers.
Right.
And how, according to this report, it's directly impacting your utility bill. The briefing details how these huge tech companies, Amazon, Meta, they're getting into what the report calls secret proprietary deals with utility providers.
Secret deals, okay.
Yeah. And these arrangements, the report highlights, are often wrapped up in non-disclosure agreements, lots of blacked out documents.
So hard to see what's really going on.
Exactly. Hidden headlines suggest this isn't just like normal business. It points to some aggressive lobbying for a system where, well, ultimately, the public ends up footing a big chunk of the bill.
Which means the average American, what does that actually translate to for them?
Well, that's the question the report raises.
From that bigger picture view, the report explicitly frames this as everyday Americans basically subsidizing some of the wealthiest corporations in the world.
Right. Subsidizing big tech.
Especially as they're all racing ahead with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
The concern here, as Hidden Headlines presents it, is this huge imbalance, right? Your utility bills are creeping up, maybe more than creeping, while big tech profits are just, soaring. And the report's assertion is that you're picking up the tab for this massive data center expansion.
It really makes you ask who's benefiting and who's shouldering the burden.
Okay, yeah.
And the numbers the report lays out are pretty stark. It projects that in 2025, the tech industry is expected to pour something like $475 billion into data centers.
Wow, $475 billion.
Yeah, and that's a 42% increase over last year. Massive jump.
42%.
But here's maybe the more striking figure. Data centers right now account for about 4% of total U.S. electricity demand.
Okay, 4%.
Hidden Headlines expects that number to triple.
Triple.
In just the next 3 years. Triple. And this is happening, the report notes, when the United States is actually generating more electricity than ever.
Which kind of begs the question.
Yeah, the report asks, where's all this extra power coming from? And maybe more importantly, who is paying for it? Paying to generate it, paying to deliver it.
Exactly. And that leads right to the crucial question about your finances, your wallet. Hidden Headlines explains that when utilities face these higher capacity prices.
Okay, what are capacity prices exactly?
It's basically what they pay to guarantee power is available on the grid, like all the time. Not just the energy you actually use, but ensuring the capacity is there.
Got it. The backup.
Right. And when those capacity prices go up, those costs get passed directly to you, the consumer, through your monthly supply charges. The report even cites the PJM's independent monitor, PJM. They oversee the grid for 13 states and D.C.
Right. Big area.
Yeah. And their monitor attributed 63% of last year's price increase directly to data centers.
63%, just from data centers.
That's what the monitor found, according to the report.
Yeah.
And this has led some customers, the report points out, to see their annual bills jump by $900. Even over $1,000 in some cases.
$1,000 more a year. Wow.
Yeah. Hidden Headlines finds it, and I'm quoting here, unfathomable that they are having to pay higher rates to support wealthy corporations building data centers. It really underscores that direct hit to your pocketbook.
So let's unpack this idea of socialized costs that the report talks about, because it sounds like that's the key mechanism here.
It seems to be.
When a utility needs to build new infrastructure, like a power plant, maybe to handle demand from a new data center, the costs for building that get socialized.
Meaning spread out.
Spread out across all the ratepayers, everyone who uses that utility who usually doesn't have another choice, right?
Right. Captive audience, basically.
These costs often show up as delivery charges on your bill.
Yeah.
But here's the critical detail, according to Hidden Headlines. Utilities are allowed to set these charges high enough to get back every dollar they spent building it.
Okay, recoup the cost.
Plus a regulated rate of profit, usually around 10%.
10% profit on top.
Yeah. The report just calls it flat out a huge profit opportunity for these companies. So big tech gets the power it needs, the utility makes a guaranteed profit.
And the cost gets spread across everyone else.
Spread across an unwilling public, yeah. The report gives a really concrete example, too, down in Louisiana.
Okay.
A utility company there proposed spending $3 billion on a new power plant, specifically to handle the massive electricity demand from a Meta data center.
$3 billion. Just for Meta.
Primarily, yeah. And while the full deal with Meta is secret, redacted filings,
Of course.
they've revealed that the public is on the hook for a significant chunk of that power plant cost. Well, Meta signed a 15-year deal, but it only obligates them to pay for about half of that $3 to $4 billion infrastructure cost over that time.
Only half. So what happens to the other half?
That's the risk the report highlights. It emphatically points out there's a huge risk that everyone else in Louisiana gets stuck with the rest of that bill. Billions of dollars, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
The context Hidden Headlines provides here is pretty stark. Quote, "Big tech's unchecked influence forces working-class Americans to subsidize corporate profits through skyrocketing utility bills, revealing a system rigged against the average taxpayer."
Wow. Rigged against the taxpayer. That's strong language.
It is. It paints this picture of public infrastructure decisions being driven really fast by private companies, maybe without enough public oversight or input.
And beyond just the money, a key insight here is how this whole trend, especially with AI booming, could fundamentally change things between communities and their utility providers. Well, Hidden Headlines suggests it could keep diminishing public control over essential infrastructure while costs just keep going up for average folks. It's a shift in power, really.
That definitely gives us a lot to chew on regarding, well, economic fairness.
Okay.
Okay, let's transition now. Shifting gears to a different kind of powerful force.
Okay.
Hidden Headlines moves our attention to geopolitical claims, specifically comments the report highlights regarding the really complex situation in Gaza.
Right. Very different topic.
It points to claims from Cenk Ogur. He's quoted in the report as stating this. Gaza is a test run for what the powerful can do to anyone who doesn't agree to be ruled.
Okay.
He goes on, Israel is using facial recognition software, complete drone surveillance, killing anyone who dissents or reports, and then smearing them afterwards as terrorists or enemies of the state. Those are undeniably strong accusations.
Very strong. Now, Hidden Headlines offers a critical perspective on these statements from Iger.
What's their take?
The report characterizes them as, quote, a dangerous exaggeration that fuels anti-Israel sentiment.
Okay, dangerous exaggeration.
Yeah. The report suggests these claims, again quoting, ignore the complex realities of national security and terrorism in the region. It basically presents Ugur's view as one that deliberately overlooks critical parts of a really challenging conflict.
So the report is framing his claims in a very specific, critical way.
Exactly. It's crucial to understand this is the report's framing of his claims, pointing to what it sees as a deliberate omission of vital context.
And when we run into these forceful, very polarizing claims like this report consistently encourages you to always consider the broader context.
Right, not just the headline.
Yeah, don't just take the immediate statement.
Right.
Especially in areas with such deep historical conflicts, it's about looking beyond the surface, trying to grasp the full complexity, rather than just accepting one single stark assessment.
Good advice in general, really.
Definitely. Okay, moving closer to home now. This report brings us a breaking story out of Chicago, something that's definitely sparked a lot of talk about leadership and public safety.
Okay, Chicago. What's happening?
Hidden Headlines details that Chicago Mayor Brandon Jensen defied President Trump. He did this by leading a mass protest with the slogan, "No troops in Chicago."
Defied the president. Okay.
And this particular event, the report really stresses the timing here, happened just hours after a mass shooting in the city. And following a weekend of intense violence where over 53 people were shot.
Hours after a mass shooting. And 53 people shot over the weekend.
That's what the report states. And Hidden Headlines suggests that, through these actions, quoting again, Johnson prefers the crime rate stay where it is. That's a very pointed observation from the report, given everything going on there.
Wow. Okay, so how does the report interpret that, resisting federal help right after that kind of violence?
Hidden Headlines frames Mayor Johnson's resistance to federal intervention not really as a policy stand, but more as prioritizing, quote, political posturing over addressing Chicago's escalating violent crime.
Political posturing.
Yeah. And the report concludes that this decision ultimately, quote, leaves residents vulnerable to unchecked lawlessness.
So the report's analysis is pretty damning there. It implies a choice was made that seems to go against immediate safety needs, especially right then.
It definitely paints it that way.
Yeah.
The report's perspective is that this is a critical moment, and leadership choices directly impact community safety.
Right.
For many of you listening, especially if you're deeply concerned, about rising crime in our cities. Well, a leadership decision like this, as Hidden Headlines presents it, it certainly raises serious questions. Questions about how cities are truly tackling or, as the report suggests, maybe failing to tackle violent crime.
Yeah, makes you wonder about the priorities guiding those decisions.
Absolutely. Which kind of brings us to a similar dynamic, but playing out internationally. Hidden Headlines now takes a look across the Atlantic to the United Kingdom.
Okay, the UK.
The report signals what it refers to as some great news there about a growing national movement.
Great news. What's the movement?
The report notes that people all over the UK are, and this is their phrasing, taking notes from our American brothers and sisters. They're displaying the nation's flag everywhere, organizing mass demonstrations against what the report characterizes as third world migration.
Okay, need to be clear here. Third world migration is the specific language the report uses.
Yes, exactly. That's the phrasing and framing used by hidden headlines to describe their perspective on this issue. And the report finishes the section with a very direct statement. It's time for the West to stand up.
Right. So zooming out a bit, how does hidden headlines frame this UK resistance?
They frame it, this resistance to what it calls unchecked immigration, as mirroring, quote, a broader Western push to preserve national identity and sovereignty against globalist policies.
Ah, so they're linking it to a bigger trend.
Yeah, the report suggests this marks a really profound cultural and political shift happening across different Western nations. It connects these grassroots protests to larger themes, national self-determination, cultural preservation, and asserts that these feelings are gaining steam globally.
Interesting. So it's presenting it as part of a larger pattern.
Definitely. This story, as Hidden Headlines highlights it, it really speaks to a powerful, growing sentiment about national borders, about cultural identity across the West. And it echoes similar discussions, similar concerns we see right here at home, shows how these global events can really resonate with local values and, national debates.
A lot of overlapping concerns, it seems.
It does seem that way. Okay, finally, the report brings us to a truly interesting, maybe a thought-provoking policy idea. This one from President Trump himself.
Okay, what's the idea?
Hidden Headline states that President Trump is, quote, floating reopening the insane asylum.
Reopening asylums, okay.
Yeah. The Daily Caller specifically asked him about it. The question was, would you be open to the government reopening insane asylums for people with serious mental illness?
In his response?
Trump's direct response, quoted in the report, was, yeah, I would. You can't have these people walking around.
You can't have these people walking around. Pretty blunt.
Very direct. And Hidden Headlines just adds its own concise opinion here. It's overdue.
It's overdue. Okay. So this brings up a huge question, right? How society deals with both severe mental illness and public safety.
Exactly. How does the report justify this idea?
Hidden Headlines frames reopening these institutions as a direct and decisive approach. A way to tackle, quote, issues ignored by decades of misguided progressive policies.
So positioning it against previous approaches.
Right. The report presents it as a tangible solution to problems that are very visible in our communities. Aiming to bring order, provide care for those who really need intensive help, but also ensuring public safety. It strongly implies that current methods are failing and that maybe a more robust institutional solution is needed.
For many people listening, many of you seeing the challenges on our streets, homelessness, severe mental health crises, a proposal like this, as Hidden Headlines presents it, it directly addresses those concerns.
Yeah, it taps into worries about both individual well-being and community safety.
It definitely sparks a vital conversation, doesn't it? About how we care for our most vulnerable citizens, but also how we protect our communities from what the report sees as these, unchecked problems. It's a bold idea. Definitely gets you thinking about alternatives.
No easy answers there, for sure.